Alright guys, so I'm here. I'm gonna make a deck profile for my channel, and I'm gonna give an in-depth explanation to my Kashtira deck. It seems that a lot of people kind of don't understand what the deck does now, and they're just like assuming it sucks, like it's not good. Everyone asks me, yo, like Elias, like what's your end board, right? Like everyone's so obsessed with the end board. What's the end board? And the end board really is just most of the time Shengri Era with Fenrir and Ogre, and during their turn you're gonna Shengri Era summon your Unicorn. And then even though it doesn't look like much, like, and it's not like a lot of negates or disruptions or whatever, you play a good amount of utility cards. Your deck is pretty consistent, I would say, above all other decks. And all these cards kind of like plus you like really hard. They're all like plus ones or more. As long and these cards also have, so along with like all the Kashtira cards like Birth and Preparations, all those cards have like a hidden effect pretty much, where they say that if they stick on the board for more than a turn, you're winning the game, right? So it's like you, even though sure there's a Fenrir and it has the disruption during their turn, they also have to kind of out the card too. They can't afford to leave the card on the board. So that's like the hidden effect of like the shape of the Kashtira cards that people don't really think about. So when people ask me what the end board is, this is the actual end board. It's usually just this, and then during their turn you summon Unicorn, and then you end up locking 3 zones. If you want, you could also lock an additional zone during your turn, but you end up locking 3 zones. You could also lock a zone through your Birth that you're gonna have, maybe through your Preparations, but you're whittling down the resources with Ogre. You're getting rid of a card with Fenrir, getting rid of a card with Unicorn. Maybe you got rid of a card with Unicorn during your turn, and then yeah, they kind of have to like beat you, right? And it's not easy. It's not easy to wipe the whole board and win on top of it. Because if I get another turn, all these cards are gonna add me cards besides Ogre, right? But all these cards are gonna add me cards. My Birth can bring back a card. It's a lot of advantage that you generate just off the cards that you use from your previous turn. So the deck fits a good amount of utility cards, which I love. You can play a decent amount of hand traps, and you get to play Fenrir in its like its own habitat, right? Like this card is a plus, it could be a +3. Usually when cards are +3s, it's like iffy if they're gonna stay around in the game. I see this card getting hit just because it's so splashable, but in this deck, it's obviously just insane, right? Because it's Fenrir, but the fact that it gets you to your engine is obviously really good. Another pro of playing this deck is you get to play Shifter. So in the decks that I play, I like playing alternative win conditions, and I talk about that in my other videos and how you need that to win a tournament or to do well, because you could like your opponent could hand trap you to death, and like you should have alternative win conditions in your deck. So the fact that this deck can play Shifter, the fact that it gets side anti-spell, the fact that like these cards alone, like even if they get negated, if they stick on the board and you pass, your opponent still has to deal with them. That's like a semi-win con. So yeah, I think the cards are actually phenomenal, and everyone else agrees actually, because if you watch old deck profiles, everyone talks about how crazy the Kashtira cards are. And not just the Rise Heart. They elaborate on a Rise Heart and how it's so broken, but if you watch like all the first place YCS deck profiles and all the top deck profiles for Kashtira, everyone emphasizes like how broken the actual Kashtira cards are, like all of them, not just a Rise Heart. So with that, I just wanted to give a little breakdown of like what the deck actually does and like what the game plan is, right? Because it seems like fluff. It seems like you're not doing much, which you're kind of not, but you're putting your opponent on a clock every single turn consistently. So every match consistently. So that's what's really cool. So I'm gonna go more in depth with every single card, just because I wanted to have one of those videos up on my channel. So just so you can kind of get the idea of how I think when I build my decks. So 3 Fenrir obviously is just consistency, phenomenal card. Not much to say about that. 3 Rise Heart, because you kind of need to play 3 Rise Heart. It increases consistency. You want to see a Kashtira name. Even in your weird hands, this card could help you play. So like the hands with Birth, or Theosis. This card and that card could help you combo. So it's also another card that I always want in my mid to late game. I always like want to end up searching this card. Double Unicorn, if I could play 3, obviously I'd play 3. This card is just, it's insane, especially in my build with since I play Ogre in preparations. This is the card that like can help you trigger your preparations consistently and on the crackback, right? Because you're always establishing preparations through Ogre, and then on the following turn, or if you open up with an extra piece, your Fenrir is going to search your Scareclaw, which then on your opponent's turn or maybe on the crackback, you're going to banish either Unicorn or Fenrir and then bring it back off preparations, and you're playing with just like 5 to 6 monsters on the board with huge attack, and you know you're getting access to all the extra deck utility cards. So I think it's just these are insane. Ogre being my favorite one. This is kind of like all these cards kind of give you like alternative win conditions, right? So like this could hit certain crucial cards, just remove them from the game so your opponent can never get access to those cards. That's kind of insane, and people don't have this deck on the radar anymore, right? So Unicorn is way more impactful now than it used to be. So keep that in mind. Also, Ogre, knowing what card your opponent's going to draw and like kind of controlling it is very good. I would play Tier Cash. I heavily tested Tier Cash, and it wasn't bad. It really wasn't bad. Especially with Ogre, it works really well with Ogre. But it could kind of help increase consistency. But post sighting, it's weird. Like the engine is actually pretty big, and that was the one card that I always saw myself sighting out. So that's why I decided to cut it. For hand traps, obviously your 3 of alternative win conditions. This is not, I want to note, this is not the reason to play the deck, but the fact that you could just play this card, people aren't like really thinking about it turn 1 anymore, right? So like this could give you free wins. It helps you just shut off your brain sometimes and get free wins. And even if they hand trap you or whatever, this could still be very good. And like to end on Fenrir and this, that could get you there, right? This card kind of reads you get another turn. So I really like obviously Shifter, the fact that the deck can play Shifter. This is my generic 3 of hand trap. Being a level 3 is probably better than the actual effect it has, but I wanted a card to fill in a slot in my main deck that's gonna always be live. And then the one Mourner, kind of going into the theory of 1-ofs. This card was really good for me at the YCS. I played against I think 6 or 7 Rescue Ace, and every time I saw this card, it was phenomenal. I probably would bump this up to 2, but then again, like I don't want to end up going against a certain matchup that this card is just not good against. So I think I'm going to keep it at 1 for now, and maybe side the second for when the matchup calls for it. For spells, obviously 3 Theosis. This card, I mean, before you didn't have to mention it because you had a Rise Heart, so that was like your main form of interruption. But this just makes your end board better, and like you get to pop cards with your Shengir Era, and since you end on Ogre, Fenrir, Unicorn, you kind of control when to use your Shengir Era, so that's pretty cool. This card also helps you out like certain floodgates, which is amazing. Probably like the best card in your deck. But what's also really cool about this card is it makes Shengir Era really hard to die. It makes Ogre huge. It has certain applications with other cards in the extra deck, but yeah, this card is like, it just makes your end boards 10 times better. Even though it's a little boost, it always seems to be relevant. So then we have 3 Birth. Back then when the Kashtira was like really into the format, this card, like people knew it was good against Rogue, but like they didn't get the full feel of it, right? Because they had a lot of Kashtira matchups. Now this card works against literally every single deck that's in the format. Like it's actually kind of crazy. You could think of any deck, any deck that's in the format, like any Sinful Spoils deck, any Pearly, anything. Sorry, anything. Rogue. They play spell cards. Tier Elements. Like this card is actually like a real threat and an actual interruption. Now that you're not playing against just like Kashtira. 3 Theosis. I have a love-hate relationship with this card, but you kind of have to play it, right? Because it's consistency, and it's actually one of the most insane cards, like in the mid game, banishing it off Rise Heart and stuff, or your Dark Arms. 3 Pot, because it's basically consistency for this deck, and it doesn't hit you. Monster Reborn, Duster, Econ, the part that everyone makes fun of me for, but it's fine. It's my deck building strategy. You have yours, I have mine. This is my theory of one-ofs. I've explained it in another video. This was the MVP, the best one out of all of them. Droplets was like a close second. I would probably play a second Droplets. It's actually really, really good in this deck. Chaining it to your Fenrir effect, negating another card, like it's actually crazy. Clearing your field. It helps you against like the Mekanko matchup or like anything weird. Maybe sometimes even Ibli sometimes. Yeah, this card is just actually, it works really well with Kashtira, and I'd probably put this up to 2. Econ 2, Econ was fine, Duster's good. These two were the worst cards in my deck, and even when they resolved, they were very like subpar, especially going first. They were really bad. Thrust, I think almost was never useful going first, but going second, it was decent. I'd probably side this and just completely take this out in the future. Probably just side this and then make this a second Droplet. So I think that's the best moving forward. For traps, 3 imperm, and then preparation. So I'm gonna spend a little time on this card. So a lot of people in the old lists, when they had a Rise Heart, obviously they didn't play this card because they would end on a Rise Heart, right? So like this card didn't get to shine really, but a lot of people think this card sucks, and it does. But the only reason why it sucks is because people don't play with it. By play with it, I mean you're always setting it up, right? And if you set it up, you have to play with the card. And once you start playing with the card, like you start banishing your Fenrirs, start banishing resources, this card becomes absolutely insane. And if not, like one of the best cards in your deck. It's literally like a second birth. The trap effect comes up, and like there's a lot of meta decks right now in this format use trap effects. If the second effect resolves, you're winning the game. Like it's actually crazy. You're always banishing an extra Fenrir to have to special summon off this card. So once they deal with your Fenrir, they try to like attack over or whatever, you just summon another Fenrir. And during your turn, the fact that like this summons another resource back is just absolutely crazy. It's another card in your deck that puts your opponent on the clock of a turn, and then they have to kind of out it. It's another card that banishes the card face down to help you zone block with Shanger Hero. Speaking of Shanger Hero, I played 2. The zone lock actually, like, it obviously doesn't come up as it used to before, but you still lock 3 zones most of the time, and sometimes like it goes up to 4, and like if they don't deal with it, they lose. So that's kind of cool. Like it's not as like obviously like unfair as it used to be, but I still wouldn't even consider this card fair. I think this card is just phenomenal, just ending on it, and having it every turn give you a resource is kind of crazy. I probably, like, I'm still gonna continue to play 2, but I played a regional, a really big tournament that was like, I played 9 rounds, I think, in the whole tournament, and YCS, and I think I never summoned 2 of them in the same duel. So it might come out. For the second of this card actually, I missed the second one a couple of times. And this card is really, really good. This might as well be a Kashtira card. Big Guy helps you make SP, so that's why he's really good. Draco Sack, one of my favorite extra deck rank 7s, just because like it helps you out skill drain, and sometimes you can put up a wall that your opponent kind of has to like break, and if they don't, they lose on the following turn. So even on some weird hands that you don't have Fenrir, or like you have like maybe the Scare Claw and Rise Heart, you can make this, and like they kind of have to destroy it. Flare Metal, and then this is good against Unchained and Tier. Now this package that I stole from someone else's deck profile, you have to play this. These are just insane. Going second, very good prosperity targets, right? Whenever I go first, I prosperity these cards away, but the effect to OTK is just insane. Like with one card, you're summoning this, baiting a bunch of negates if they have. If not, you're attacking, and if that's not game, you go Zeus, and then you can Zeus, and then just Birth. You could just Unicorn, do your whole play. It's actually kind of crazy. What's really, really cool too with this and SP Little Knight, if you make this in your extra EMZ and then you have another monster, you can go to SP and then you can chain block this, which is really cool. You want to be able to attack directly that turn, but it helps you out and like break boards. So that's good. SP being SP, you don't play Donner, you just play SP because it's just a better card. And then Zeus, this card is actually even better in this deck than any other deck because you set up, if you have Pressured Planet, it goes to over 3k most of the times, and like Barone can't out it, and other monsters like Turbulence can't out it unless they have HQ, then they probably will. But the fact that they can't use those monsters, they can't use like Dempsey or whatever it's called in their hand, the Horus card, it's kind of crazy. And with Pressure Planet being over 3k defense, it's really, really hard to out. And then the Barone. Side deck, 3, because you have to play it against combo decks. I wanted to be more prepared for time than my opponent. The 4th Floodgate with the 3 shifters, so it increases the chance of me seeing a Floodgate going first, or even going second against Tier Limit. This is really good. 3 of side deck card. So you're drawing a 6th card for turn, so it's already a higher chance you're going to see a 1 of or 3 of going second, and then with Prosperity, Thrust, and Talents to get into these cards, you have a really good chance of seeing these cards going second. Sure, it could have been 3 evenly, right? Could have been 3 evenly, or it could have been maybe even 3 with Lava Golem, but that would only go in against certain matchups where these will be very, very versatile, and I'll be more like a Swiss Army knife, and maybe Lava Golem's not good, and I could put these 2 in, right? Or maybe Evenly is not the greatest, I could put these 2 in, and vice versa. So these were actually phenomenal, and again, just because I'm playing Prosperity and all those cards, it's actually a good chance I'm going to see one of these 3 ofs. One of these, well, not 3 ofs, but one of these 3 1-ofs. And then my side decking strategy, I always believe you should play going first cards. You shouldn't just assume you're going second all the time. You shouldn't assume that you're winning the game all the time and going second. So I wanted 5 cards that covered what I lose to. So what I lose to is blowout spell cards and evenly, and these are the cards that help me stop that. Losing to Thrust, to Talents, to Taking, going into Zeus is kind of like what breaks my whole board. So this card stops that. This card just being really good, and the format is also really good. And the way side patterns work, I don't take out Engine. I just put these cards in for my other utility cards, and I make sure my deck is even more powerful, and I have really heavy going first cards. And I'm gonna see these cards. I mean, like, it's 5 cards, but again, you have Prosperity, so it's like a lot of cards in your deck that you can see to help you see these cards. You know, and pretend it's like a 5 of card, right? A 3 of, I think, is what, like 20% chance or something. Think of a 5 of, it's even more, and then with Prosperity it goes even higher. So these were absolutely perfect. Anti-spell, you don't want to play multiple, meaning you don't want to play 3. I actually even wanted to play 1, but it was kind of important, so I wanted to bump it up to 2. You never want to see multiples of this card, because if they hand trap you and you lock yourself under your own anti-spell, it could really, really, it really hurts you. And you never want to side out Engine, so it would be like kind of, I don't want to overside him. It's a mistake that a lot of people tend to make. So that's my Kashtira deck. I think this deck is probably, not probably, I think this deck is for sure like one of the top decks right now. Just people just don't know about it, and they stop thinking about it. I think as long as it doesn't get hit again, I'll continue to play it. And the deck is actually just insane. People just, again, they just assume because the Rise Heart is out of the deck just sucks. But they don't understand what the deck does. And hopefully with this video, you can kind of understand what my strategy is playing the deck, and maybe how if you wanted to play the deck, the route that you could take it. So that's it.